Rest in peace, Spaceman. Rest in peace, Ace Frehley. Kiss was my childhood favorite band, guys. Kiss was my best friend's favorite band, and our father's favorite band. They were best friends, but growing up, Kiss has meant so much to me. So I want to make the video, guys. I'm thinking the whole day. Then I read, of course, the tragic news this morning going to work, and I've been thinking the whole day, like, what can I really do that I make? So I'm just gonna give you guys a little bit of a life journey with me, and how Kiss was an integrated part in my life growing up. You see my hair still, right? And you know, the music, the style, Halloween, whatever. It has some nice stories. Kiss PINBALL, okay, we can't go over it, guys. And you know, for me and my best friend, it was very, very integrated. When we grew up playing music, it was always the Kiss songs. You get my point. I've been very clear here that I hate these kind of videos. In a way, I didn't want to make this video. Not because I'm emotional or whatever, but I feel it's so tacky, right? I feel it's so tacky when someone is like, oh, this celebrity died, you know, please subscribe his life, whatever. Oh, I'm so sad, right? But Kiss for me is genuinely my favorite band as a kid, okay? I'm not just saying that, it is. And this week I've done a few reaction interviews to Baby Metal this week, right? Because I do a lot of like musical videos on this channel, and I have mentioned several times this week that I'm looking at their live performance, and I'm comparing it back to Kiss, right? Of course, I'm also comparing it to other music artists as well, obviously, right? But for me, it's always gonna be Kiss, you know what I mean? Because I grew up with, right? It's always gonna have, comment later, but having those memories of like going with my father, my best friend, his father, my best friend, my uncle, right? And we're going, to like a Kiss concert, right? This is the 90s then, I'm in the 80s, I'm an 80s boy, right? So in the 90s, the Kiss kind of reunion tour, right? Going to those things, I've been to multiple Kiss, live performances for me. So I'm always gonna come back when I'm doing like my music review of whatever band, right? I'm always gonna be like, this reminds me of this thing, or is this Kiss is always gonna be, Kiss is always like gonna be at the pinnacle, right? Kiss is like, how good is this thing compared to Kiss, right? It's always gonna be in my head, right? So I genuinely really grew up with Kiss, and like I said, I really do hate making these videos. I don't do them at all, except like one last year when Akira Toriyama died. Of course, I also love not music, also, but I also love video games and manga and anime, and also obviously Dragon Ball also was a big part of my childhood. So like, in a similar way, right? I made a video about Akira Toriyama, and also of course Kenta Murainen with Berserk. So it has to be something really special, like Ace Frehley. But anyway, guys, like I said, I'm just gonna give you a little bit of my Kiss memories and whatever. I haven't really planned the video out that much, honestly, but I still find it to be just a cherished memory how much Kiss meant to me. And like I said, it also felt kind of weird because I just mentioned Kiss yesterday, right? I just made a video yesterday, not about Kiss, but like I said, comparing to Kiss. So I discussed that in my last video I made like 20 hours ago. I talked about a Kiss for like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. So something between that. So it feels really weird. It does feel it kind of came out of nowhere, I guess, right? Where, he suddenly kind of... I read about that the Ace had some issues, like falling down or something, and well, you know how it is. But not to be that guy, but yeah, they are old, and you let's not talk about it. But you do expect like Gene or Peter or of course Paul to any moment also. That is kind of how you live, right? With old legends, right? We had also of course written too, but anyway, where do we start then? Sorry if I'm a little bit, but you know what I mean. But let's start the memories of Ace Frehley and Kiss then. So my strongest memory of being a Kiss fan is that at my first Halloween, right? My every first Halloween, I never done Halloween before in my life, right? This is the first time we are doing Kiss, of course. But my dad, and like I said, my best friend's dad, like basically my uncle, right? And we lived in the same street and all the good stuff. They loved Kiss, of course. They always play Kiss at home and so on, right? And our first Halloween then, yes, we did of course Kiss makeup. And I have to say though, I was Paul Stanley, so it's terrible. I didn't ever have, but let's be honest here. Yeah, Paul Stanley has always been my favorite member. I have to admit though. So I was Paul Stanley, right? And my friends, of course, were Peter, Chris, and Ace Frehley, and of course Gene Simmons. And we did this every year, okay? We did it every year. So we did it like all the years. I done Kiss makeup Halloween like 10 years, guys, okay? And then, you know, getting older, we're still doing it, you know. I mean, we're still doing it, yeah. We still look like this, you know, 10 years later. So Kiss makeup Halloween, that was our thing. We were the only kids doing it when I was very young. Probably also because Halloween wasn't a big thing around from I'm from Sweden, right? And our fathers about Norwegians though, commented soon. So we did Halloween in like Sweden and Norway. It wasn't a big thing yet. Today it's much bigger. So every kid didn't even do it, right? So we were the only kids doing Kiss, and that became our thing, right? So we started out as kids, right, just doing the makeup, and then over the years we went full suit, right? Yeah, we had the full uniform, you know. We advanced every year, and everyone in the town knew that we were the Kiss kind of like cosplayer, you know, Halloween guys. So it became a huge thing, right? But it comes from this backstory, really, that my father, and like I said, also my best friend's father, they were both really into American culture. And that's what I pointed out, talking about Kiss in America, is that American culture, pop culture, is very big, obviously, around the world, but especially in Norway. In Norway, American pop culture is massive, actually. And my dad's two favorite bands are Kiss and, of course, then ZZ Top as well, right? He loves ZZ Top and Kiss. So growing up, I heard, you know, the Kiss songs, right? And, of course, also then ZZ Top all the time. And also, of course, some other bands too, Meatloaf, Guns N' Roses, some other ones, obviously, as well. But this was kind of played in my house all the time. Like I said, both our dads are Norwegians, so they really love America. It's a big thing in Norway. When my father was very young, he worked as a chef in the Navy. When he left the Navy, and basically my mom got pregnant with me, right? And important, I suppose, for the story, right, is that my father was very young when I was born, right? He was just out of the Navy for a few years, went to be a chef. There he met my best friend's dad, also a chef then, of course, and they both really loved America, Kiss, and similar music, and of course, it's overall America, right? And it's pointed out here, when I tell you my life story, people complain, right, about me sometimes, oh, you have some weird art in your house or whatever. Well, you know, I grew up with a dad that loves Harley Davidson more than anything, okay? My dad loves Kiss, but he loves Harley Davidson even more, okay? I grew up with my father later on having a garage as a mechanic, fix people's bikes or whatever, right? And everywhere in my house and my dad's house and his garage, they had these kind of posters, okay? Did they complain about my poster behind me or whatever? My whole house looks like this, like boobs and ass. No one's seriously, okay? This is my dad's fault, okay? I'm just gonna point it out. I grew up, right, with a father that loved America. He loved Harley Davidson. He loves the Top and Kiss and so on, right? Our whole house was filled with like biker babe posters, okay? My father, he was running the garage in my hometown. Later on from a chef, he became like a mechanic, and he worked as an engineer now then, so he kind of fixed people's bikes, and he got like a license for, you know, melding and stuff, welding and so on, right? So he was running the whole garage thing in my hometown with, of course, my other, you know, my best friend's also father, also a biker and so on, right? So I grew up in a goddamn biker garage, okay? They had booze lads everywhere, and my dad had like a new girlfriend every week, you know, and they all looked like this, right? So can you blame me? As a side note, okay? This is a life I grew up with, okay? I was like, what's you gonna have ass and boob poster and all it was, man? I'm just saying, okay? My uncle, basically, dad, like my best friend's dad, he was driving a monster truck. This is not a joke. People think I'm joking enough. This is like stupid. But no, like I have, you don't understand, this is why I'm crazy, right? My dad and his best friend and his friends there, right, you know, they loved Kiss and they loved this other, you know, this American lifestyle, right? They were driving a monster truck, yeah. My dad and, again, then, my uncle to speak, they had their own, they had one monster truck each, okay? And I know it sounds crazy. And I was living in Sweden, right? In Sweden, okay? You have to put it down. We're living in Sweden here, in a like mid-sized Swedish city. There are two monster trucks in this city. It's of my dad and my best friend's dad, okay? These are the only two people that are driving a monster truck in the town. That's why I grew up with, okay? Can you blame me that I'm crazy? No, but seriously. So I really grew up in this like love for America, love for American stuff. And it comes to one thing that I have this really, really good memory as well, which is this thing. My best friend had the Simpson pinball machine in his basement when I was a kid, okay? I have played this game like a million times. I know exactly everything in this game. This is not a joke, seriously. They had 3 pinball machines in their basement. That's how much they love America and American culture. The Simpson pinball machine, and also, of course, the Kiss pinball machine! You know how many times I played this game? My best friend had the goddamn Simpson and Kiss pinball machine, okay? I have played this game a million times. It is one Kiss memory I have. Not just the actual music, guys. The rock and roll, right? All the boobs and ass posters, because the house have the same thing, is that they have the Kiss pinball machine in their house. I have played this game so many times, you can't even imagine it. Many times I have played this game, and also of course the Simpson game. And then they had the third one was some kind of weird, like super old. I think according to my uncle, it was like the first pinball machine ever made or something. It was like one of those versions. It was really boring, but it was like the first one. So he bought it because it was like a classic, right? You know. And today they have like over 10 pinball machines. So yeah, they have a lot of money. I'm wrong, and these guys are rich. It's crazy. I don't think a lot of people have this memory, no. But I really grew up playing his pinball machine all the time. It was super fun, of course. Unique experience, right? And if you see some more videos, I have my own self-made modded arcade stick, right, to play fighting game and so on. And I did this paper like 15 years ago. I built my own like arcade machine controller thing, so you control the game with moving your hands like this. Don't need too much here, but you know, I grew up with all this like pinball machines and stuff. And my father, after being a chef, became an engineer and you know, build all the stuff, right? And when I was a teenager, I built my own like arcade machine at home and so on, right? So I always had this love for the big stuff, you know. Like I love video games. That was my main thing, right? I've been a game developer for like what 15 years, whatever, more than that. But I really love this stuff, you know. I love big stuff. I love pinball. I really love pinball machines, seriously. I have my own pinball machine. I love pinball machines. At the office, I also have my own arcade and pinball machine, right? I love that stuff. I'm a sucker for this stuff, the big stuff. I really am. One thing that I would love to do, and I'll talk about it soon here, whatever, talk about America, but one thing I actually would really love to do, if I didn't do my current job or like a game job or whatever, right? I would love to be like an amusement park creator, right? Like I play too much Roller Coaster Tycoon, no, but seriously, look at this. Our family loves America, right? And this is like a hard thing to explain how much Kiss have influenced that. The music, the style, the clothing. So this is of course me, right? This is me in Florida, so this is Orlando. And this is me dressing up for, when I go, of course, to the Simpsons, right? At the of course, Universal then, right? So that's in Krusty's mouth here. I love this place, of course. So I'm bringing it up because I would love actually to be like an amusement park designer. I would love to work on like the whole system, right? Like the rides or whatever. I really do. I don't want to work, at the place. I want to be, like a designer. It's like the coolest thing ever. It's like a realistic video game. I want to, build the actual roller coaster, the ride, but it sounds a bit silly, but I bring it up because I think it's something that people might not understand in like America or whatever, right? But American culture, it was so big, right? For me, growing up as a kid, Kiss again then was like one of the main things, right? For me and my best friend growing up, we had a few things that we really cared about as kids, right? Kiss was one of them. Kiss is kind of music. The Simpsons, of course, was ridiculously big as a kid, right? And American culture was so big influence to us, right? And we had these three things, right? This mixture of the music, generally, keep saying it, Kiss or whatever, right? The Simpsons, similar like these TV shows, and then the general like American whatever politics, right? Is massive in Norway and Sweden, especially in Norway, where they really love it, right? Massively so. And the other thing that I would say, which also is American, I suppose, but also influenced by Japan, was Turtles, right? I'm from that age where Turtles really exploded. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Massively exploded. So obviously I have all the weapons, I have all the sword and the bows and nothing. Like obviously Michelangelo is the coolest guy, but it's like that thing was so massive growing up. So it's really hard to, I think, to explain it. My point is that not only have these memories, but like I said, going to the first concert with my dad to Kiss or whatever, right? But also use the massive influence Kiss has had on like how I dressed, the music I liked, the stuff that we bought. Because my dad was there as well, right? You know, like I said, he loves his top as well, then, right? So my dad has a hot rod. He's all his Harleys, right? My dad's like 5 Harley Davidsons. He got like what 3-4 cars, right? And so on, but he has a hot rod as well. But that kind of stuff, right? You know, the clothing, the designing, and like I said in all my I can't speak anymore, but like I said in many of my music videos on the channel where I review music videos, right, or live performance, right, the pyroman, the pure, you know, the explosion, you know, all this thing bigger than life, you know. I always loved Kiss because the whole like I always say, right, there are 3 criteria when I review like a song, right, an opening or whatever, right. It's the music itself, but it's also the visuals, right, and then it's the journey, the story. These 3. So it's like I call it story, visuals, and the actual music, right? And Kiss always had all 3, right? And I always say it, right? I'm a big sucker for that. I don't like that many bands that do music and they use the music, right? And I know it sounds silly because it's like I don't like their music, but no, but I want them to do something else, right? I want them to also have this, you know, I'm missing that, yeah, it has to be something like that. And as a kid, right, my other bands that I liked would be like Iron Maiden or whatever, you know what I mean? I want the Eddie, I want to explore, I want the zombie clown, you know, something like that. I want something to happen, right? So, it really is like a big influence on me as a person, right? And here on this channel, for example, I do reviews and reactions and so forth, right, to video games, music, manga and anime, and of course movies and whatever, right? But my favorite thing has always been like anime openings, and I think the reason is because I'm so influenced by stuff that Kiss has done now with Ace Frehley, truly, because it's like I want that amazing, you know, guitar riff, right? But I also want it with the visuals, okay? I keep saying it, but for example, I always keep people all the time, anime openings, not simply anime openings, but openings, right, for movies and games and trailers. I love this much, right, because then you get that amazing guitar riff for someone like Ace, and then you have this really cool visuals, right, of this badass movie or a video game. And for example, when I worked on some games, I worked on, for example, you know, like Call of Duty, right? One of my favorite trailers I worked on is the Origin trailer of Black Ops 2 that I worked on like a decade ago. And, you know, I love that, you know, here comes this cool music. You see the guy like acting a zombie, right? Bam, it explodes. Here comes the next tune. Here comes the guitar riff. You see this guy cutting a zombie. It explodes. You see, you hear the drums, you know. Like, I love that so much. So, and to me, that really comes from, you know, growing up with this, like, fandom of Kiss, right? That's really where it comes from. It's hard to explain otherwise, but yeah, but for me, it's like music, performance. It's all the theatrics, it's all the pyro stuff, and everything at the same time, right? And when I grew up, then our parents, especially my best friend's father, which is more of just my dad, he would really train us on playing music, and as you can expect, because his favorite band is Kiss, we would just play Kiss all the time, right? So I first and foremost learned to play the piano by my granddad. My grandpa, when I was growing up, because he had his piano at his castle or whatever, so he played the piano, right? And but then later I was older, at 7, 8 or whatever, right? We started having this band, and we would play Kiss songs all the time. Like, seriously, that was like I was just taught playing instrument on Kiss songs. Yeah, like, my whole childhood is like, yeah, we played a lot of Kiss songs. Yeah, like, he loved Kiss. We basically only played Kiss. But I also want to give him credit though, because he also was an actual mentor and a musician. And I think some parents, right, they're just like, yeah, Kiss is awesome. Here, boy, take this instrument and learn to play the guitar or whatever, right? But my uncle, he basically more an uncle, right? And also same with his wife. Like I call her auntie basically, right? You know, my best friend's mom is like my aunt rather than, you know, like her. Yeah, it's like it's just a weird thing, right? But anyway, he was I wasn't giving him credit. I won't say his name, but I wasn't giving him much credit for it. He did teach how to actually play. He was very like actually a mentor. He'd be like, okay, we're gonna play, like this Kiss song. Okay, of course, because I love Kiss. And then it's like, okay, here's how you play it. And then we would train, and we would actually sit down and train for a few hours a week. He wasn't just like, here boys, here's a drum set. Just punch the stuff and learn how to play. He actually was like, I'm gonna teach you how to play his instrument, and we're gonna do it every week, and we're gonna train on his like favorite Kiss songs. We're gonna train on them, right, over the method. So he actually took us seriously through the journey of learning how to play like Kiss cover songs. And then my first really big performance, I was 14, and we were playing Kiss songs, and we were also playing Michael Jackson songs. Because I always love MJ as well, obviously kind of an age. So the first song I ever played in front of a big audience, not like a 7-year-old, but like actually when I was older, like an actual, performance, like you'd have to be, so to speak, was Michael Jackson's band. I was the lead singer of our band, and then we went over to play different Kiss songs. But the first song I have to admit was actually bad. But I was like, so I also really liked, I said Michael Jackson going up, right, and I was like, I love Kiss of course, but I felt that we had been practicing on different songs then that we grew up with, right, and I just felt like I really wanted to sing a Michael Jackson song the first time. I don't know, I was like, I really wanted to sing it, I was like, this is what I'll try to sing. A Michael Jackson song as my first attempt. That was the reason why. I also wanted to push for that, because I wanted to really do this. And of course we had our own outfits, right? We didn't do the Kiss outfits, okay? I want to be clear. We didn't do Kiss outfit. We did this instead. No, but like I said, we wanted our own outfits, right? So we obviously had something inspired by Kiss, but it's kind of like, you play your favorite video game or whatever, right? And you're inspired by that. You want to just copy it in your game, right? So you want to have a little bit changes, you know what I mean? So we probably weren't that original, but we kind of had our own, We didn't have like Spaceman. It was like I'm Hellman. we had our own, we had our own take in, so we had our own, like version of it, right? We had our own version of it. Yeah, we were like, we're gonna have our own. We can't just copy Kiss. We want to make our own band, right? Yeah. So maybe we had something like this, but we kind of, we did another design then, right? Our own performance. We didn't just want to do the same thing, right? Which I think makes sense, right? Because we didn't just play Kiss songs. We don't wanted to have our own take on it, yeah. But I think a lot of people have been there, right? When you make your own, Kiss makeup, right? And then you're like, yeah, but I've done it like 10 years now. We have our own I don't want to be the devil. I'm gonna be like this other animal. Yeah, I'm gonna be like the. So, you can. I'm gonna have 2 stars instead of 1 star. But it's it definitely was that juvenile creativity. Oh shit! My lamp! Ah! I'm moving too much. Ah! Yeah, my lamp fell off. That's nice in the video. That was hilarious. Theatrics. That's on purpose, guys. So you like the video? No, but I think we've all been there, right? In this juvenile thing where you have like, oh, I want to be like Gene Simmons, but I don't want to have the exact same thing here. I'm going to make this thing here instead of something, or maybe this thing here. You have like a little change on it, you know what I mean? You do a slight change because now this is our band. You're a cover band, yeah. I'm not the spaceman, I'm the devil man. It's kind of like, like you have a slight mix on it, right? That's, come on, you know what I mean? We all, yeah. I still remember it, playing Kiss the first time. And I did play in a band then. We did perform every year when I was in high school and so on. Definitely. And also, as a side note, right, because the music then, inspired by playing Kiss and Kiss music, the first games that I worked on, I did all the music, yeah. I did add all the music, but that wasn't that. But like I said though, because my grandpa taught me the piano, right, as a kid, my first instrument, I kind of just played them. You know how it is. I kind of just composed all the music for my first like 3 games. Yeah, I did all the music and sound effects, and I basically just like composed them myself. You know what I mean? With like a synth, yeah, basically. And this sounds good, and of course I do love 8-bit music as well, and obviously like. I really enjoyed like the megaman games. I remember Megaman is called Rockman in Japan, right? And there's a bunch of inspirations to, especially Guns N' Roses. In one of the Megaman games, every enemy is named after the like actual Roses or so on. Yeah, Slash. Yeah, I'm kidding. So my video game music tended to be definitely kind of like the Megaman XV, you know, like I was like, yeah, that was kind of like the music I would mostly do. That or like kind of classic. I was inspired also a lot by like this kind of early Japanese like shamisen and this kind of like I like the kind of melodic town music. Man, it sounds weird, but basically my first music that I wrote and I composed, it was very except like the except that kind of like fighting music, right? Then I would write very I like this like melodic kind of wild, you know, like wild. If you play like Wild Arms or whatever, you go into a town and it's like, you know, do it's like this nice, you know, like sound. I love to write that thing too. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Either I want to make music, right, where it's very very high, it's very high tempo, it's very much, you know, constantly. Yeah, it's very 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 high. A very very high tempo, or I want to make music where it's very nice, you know. You're going on a meadow, and this is like you feel welcome and loved by all the villagers, and you're going into the shop and buying a new sword, you know, and to save them from a dragon. All I have is like it's nice. I love those like, you know, town music. Yeah, so I would do town music, and I loved it. And for a while in college, when I got into like composing stuff after then, unfortunately I moved away from hometown, and so you know how it goes. So then we didn't play in a band anymore, right? So then I would sit at home sometimes after classes, and I would like compose like town music. It sounds really, yeah. Or like some kind of Kiss inspired like heavy metal, yeah, like either, yeah. It sounds really like either I was like super quick tempo, or I was like the slow was like, oh, this is nice, this is cuddly, you know. And something I don't want to get copyright, but it's my favorite, just to explain what I mean. So let's turn off the Kiss music there in the background, but you know, just to explain to you guys, right? This kind of music, you know. Yeah, slowly turning off the Kiss music there, but it's what I played, right? So I felt kind of funny, because either I was writing, you know, heavy, like hard metal, right? Like, yeah, probably faster than Kiss, right? And I was like, yeah, it was very much like that, right? Or I was writing music something like this. So I was like, yeah. So I was, yeah, I loved it on the piano and like composing these kind of like just super chill, you know, town, yeah, like the town vibe in Pokemon or something similar, right? And I was like, yeah, this is super nice, it's cuddly, it's calming me down, man. But yeah, obviously this is my favorite Ace Frehley song that we have in the background here. But I think this is probably most people's favorite song with Ace Frehley. I'm probably not unique on this thing. Yeah, leave a comment below, guys, but I think this is probably the one that I think about with him the most, right? This song here, the groove. So that's what I've been playing in the background before that. Honestly, I don't know what the point of this video is. Maybe it's just like a little mental medicine for myself here. I'm just like, hey man, I'm kind of sad. I really loved this guy's work, you know, I love his music. Let's just talk about it, right? But yeah, sometimes I liked. I won't talk about too much in this video, but it's like, obviously, I said earlier, I find most of these kind of videos tacky, right? The tacky, and yeah, I don't like it people talking about someone dying or whatever, it's just weird. But that's also why I didn't want to really think about stuff in this video, right? And that might sound silly, but I feel it's more genuine now when I'm going to say, this is what I feel, and this is my memories, guys. I remember all the Halloweens. That's also what I think about the Kiss. Remember Halloween, right? I remember playing the Kiss songs growing up, learning the different songs or whatever, right? I remember, you know, like going over to some other, just like trying our own makeup, trying our own, you know, like inspired makeup or clothing and so on, right? I remember that so well. You know, obviously some people will ridicule you and bully you or whatever, right? But that's just silly. Like, obviously you have to try all the stuff. And I also remember that, of course, I remember getting bullied as a kid, man. I remember we were like, yeah, we're gonna do Kiss makeup, right, for the first Halloween, and all the kids bully us. Like I said, also Halloween wasn't even a thing in like Sweden and Norway. First time I did it was in my hometown in Sweden, tiny town, and people were barely was like, what is Halloween, right? So we got bullied for it, of course. And I was like, you know, we never cared about that. It was like, we're losers, man. We're the coolest kids out there, yeah. But it really was difficult too, because, you know, like, it wasn't like only a few kids did it. And then we were like 4 guys dressing up like kissing. We were like hardcore, right? And some other guy was basically like, you know, Casper the Clown. He could be like, yeah. So we were like, like, come on, you're just jealous. We're the coolest outfit ever. Yeah, what are you talking about? We're the coolest kids in the city, right? We're the freaking badass kids, okay? Those are my memories, right? And of course also the pinball. Yeah, I played the pinball machine so much. But I will say I think that the Simpson pinball machine actually is better, okay? I think actually is, from a gameplay standpoint, I think the Simpson machine is preferable, right? But then of course it comes back to, as I mentioned earlier, that, you know, like, my whole life, I really do feel so inspired by this kind of thing, right? You know, like I thought about, like, when I make my own stuff, my own creativity, my own games or whatnot, right? I like it to be this larger than life, very much Kiss feeling, right? It shouldn't just be this thing. It should be like a cool things happening. It should be explosion. It should be this thing it sounds like I'm basically being Michael Bay. It should be explosions all the time. No, but my point is that it should just be. I want it to be a whole thing, right? All the senses, your visual, your hearing, your taste buds. It should be in every part of the performance, right? And when I make gaming cards, right, for video game, it's the same thing. I never liked working on, for example, you know, realistic games. Somebody a few years ago, because HOIT, right? I want to work on these games. I can make a demon or a dragon or something, and it's cool and it's flashy and it's like, it's so much more fun, okay? We had another video, and let's not derail it too much, but I have a point. It's so boring. I thought about how boring it is to work on, for example, a game like Ghost of Yotta, right? Because it's like, yeah, cool, samurais, but like, okay, it's not to death, right? This is a samurai, you know what I mean? Like Turtles, that at least is like a anthropomorphic samurai ninja guy. Like, it has some more feel to it, right? Like the last game I worked on, I was a creative director as well, and the lead game designer, you know, and I could design all the different characters, different monsters, right? And I could say, yeah, we're gonna have this like hot dragon woman. She's gonna have big tits, you know, and it's gonna be freaking huge ass, and she's gonna have this cool eyes, and I'm gonna make her blind on one eye. We're gonna cut off her eyes and a cool scar, and she's gonna have some really muscular abs, because you know I love women with big abs. So we're gonna give her massive abs. All of my female characters have got big abs. But it's one thing. You know, it's a game that I made, because I worked on a couple of games, right? This one thing that I mean, absolutely, this is trash. Spider-Man, don't die on me. No, Peter, no. Bad joke. Last in the video, guys. Yeah, if there's one thing you know about me, see, this is my father's fault and his fault, right? Growing up with all the Kiss music videos, is that when I worked on my last game, it was like every female character was really muscular. But muscular isn't, you know, some of them definitely had gigantic biceps and so forth, right? But you know what I mean? I have them all in like really slim, you know, like abs, right? They all had like a six-pack, yeah, okay? I admit it. Because that's my fetish. Like, I was like, they have all a six-pack, yeah. Like either muscular big, right? Like really big, you know. The big as like Sandgeef, right? They have huge muscular stomach, right? But even the slim girls also, you know, they have like, you know, they're generally short and slim, whatever. They also have big freaking abs, okay? They're slim abs. but stuff like that, it's important, it's flashy. No, but I remember this character. I was like, okay, I've cut out her eye. Let me like give her a big scar on her biceps, on like her biceps here, and a scar on her, you know, on her abs, and all that stuff. Right? That means flashy, and she got like wings. And instead of being just wings like a dragon, his wings are fire. Her wings are like, you know, they're made of fire. And she punches someone, the wings explode behind her or something. You know what I mean? A lot of my inspiration for that stuff comes from stuff like Kiss. It really do. And I think that I have kind of the same mindset of the whole larger than life and so on, right? And not so much. And people probably think that it comes from me liking anime or whatever, or manga and so on. And certainly to some extent, but you know, I didn't even get into manga and anime or whatever, right? Or Japanese stuff over set gaming until I was like 16, 17, you know. Like, it didn't exist where I grew up, okay? We didn't have manga and anime, right? Manga started publishing when I was like 14 or something, okay? So you have to remember that I had 14 years of growing up in a household where constantly I'm watching Kiss music videos, CC Top, and Guns N' Roses and so on. That's where I really coming from. That's why I have this behind me, okay? Like, I'm serious. That's it, okay? Now you know my full life, guys. That's what I think about Kiss. 100%. Anyway, guys, I don't know. So if it's tacky now, please subscribe, press the like button, bro. You know, like this. But yeah, something like that. Anyway, guys, rest in peace, Spaceman.